they're both. So I think the whole world is awash with the noise around robotics, automation, etc., etc. But I think for many companies, if you look at the last 8 years as we've come out of the massive recession, everybody's addressing costs, and finance is very firmly in the frame for that. So I think certainly from my own organisation, we're being challenged to transform. We're probably being asked to deliver more, and more for less has to come in some different shape or form. So I think the whole notion around automation in particular is a key issue. Don't necessarily believe that robotics is the answer to everything. I think it's got a role to play, but I think the pressures are both internal and external. So internally, our cost to serve has to come down. The delivery points in numbers has to come down. The offer has to go up. The creation of value has to go up, and the opportunity has to go up. So I think, I don't think it's in isolation, but I think all finance communities are under pressure. And when you hear notions like 83% of all accountancy jobs will disappear due to robotics, in the wrong hands, that's a powerful metric. So I think we're all under pressure to do more with less. If I talk financial services in financial operations, which is how we deal with it, I think we're in transition. I think we've got traditional. So when I talk to my controllership group and we talk around about how do we move from our current state to a future delivery model, the general consensus is, well, that's going to be really difficult because what we do is not going to change. We'll still have responsibilities for reconciling the bank accounts, doing all this stuff, but we're going to have to do it smarter, cleaner, more efficient. So those, well, actually, we'll know. How are we going to jump forward? How do we move to actually saying, well, what is the offer? What are we going to deliver back to the finance people? What is it that our business partners need to deliver the offer? And therefore, what does that mean for us? What is it we need to stop doing? What can we do by a combination of automation? What can we do by stopping doing certain things? And how much can we do by basically being a little more smarter, a little more simpler? And that may include offshoring, but it's how do we readjust all those resources, change the combinations, and look to deliver something a little more simpler. The business needs are paramount, the business wants are not. And I think the finance communities across the board traditionally have been very guilty of being all things to all men. So if you want that in a different flavour, yeah, we can do that for you, and we do it without thinking. When we've got costs sitting around us and drivers about, this is the pot, and you have to deliver this, go figure, that's my world today. I wouldn't say we've actually finished that. As I say, I think for me it's an aspiration. I think the continuous accounting envelops all of the technology opportunities that are around. What it does is it forces us to rethink how we do it. And I think that's really the catalyst for where we're going now. We've started on that. We're leveraging the tools that we've got. I get concerned when people think that our RPA is a panacea for everything. It's a silver bullet. We've got investments in a lot of SaaS tools. We've got significant investment in SAP. These are all key solutions. They're all key facilitators. We shouldn't throw those away in preference of the new modern hybrid on the block, so to speak. And it's how we combine those and how we get to stuff. So the continuous accounting is about how do we bring all these component parts together to deliver what we said. This offer is something that needs to be defined, and we need to be smart in how we do it. So using the tools we've got, we've fundamentally improved the whole balance sheet reconciliation process. We now move on to the next phase, which is around the journals piece. It's then around the overall close piece, and all of these things become integrated. The whole philosophy has become integrated. Our ability to drive behaviours is the key issue, and I think it's the difference between having tools and having insight. So I think we've gone through the phases of MI. What is MI? And then suddenly it becomes reporting, and then suddenly it becomes insight. And now we've got to use that to create value. And I think that's where the continuous accounting piece goes. How do we use all of this data, all of this knowledge, all of this experience that we have to shape it into something a little more rounded, but more punchy and more value creating? And I think that's where we're going to. So I think continuous accounting is more a cultural thing. It's got component parts, but I think if we envelop it in how do we maximize the 22 days of close by using all the tools available to us, that's where we're going to get to. So I don't think there's an end state to that journey. I think continuous accounting is just a way of life, but I think it's a disruptor. It's forcing us to change how we do stuff, so it's driving the debate. How do you create value? I mean, certainly within Centrica, again, we are some brilliant people doing some brilliant things, but our own admission, we spend far too much time dwelling on the consequence of stuff. There's so much rework, there's so much. We get to the final number, we high quality data, but by the time it's published, it's already archaic. We're kind of looking at this stuff. By the time we get to the finished number, it's 3 weeks after the month. Then it's those, whoa, we're almost at the next one. Real time enables us to make better decisions, and I think that's our quarterly business reviews, our performance reviews. Sometimes we have those 6 weeks after the end. It's a dose of you're already into the next period. We need to have data on an hourly basis, on a real-time basis, because that will enable us to allocate resources, allocate people, systems, and focus on the processes that are laggards so that we can actually maximise the return from those. Real-time data is where finance needs to be, and I think the last 20 years we've been talking about that being an aspiration. We have to get there, we've got to stop talking about it. RPA, everybody's talking about it, and I remember the SSON event in Dublin, where I think it was Phil Whelan stood up and said, "Do you know what? I'm exhausted. I've heard RPA for 3 days. Let's call it what it is." I think all of these tools are facilitators. From a technological point of view, an RPA has been described as just a macro on speed. Like all technology, it's how you apply it. I think it's just an extra tool in the toolbox, so I think it'll still be fashionable. I think we need fashionable products to actually drive the debate, so I'm not going to knock it from that perspective. We set up our own centre of excellence for RPA, but we're already questioning whether we should call that RPA. It's effectively continuous improvement, because when we actually get underneath it, we could use RPA to automate some really rubbish processes, but if we actually address the cause and address the process in the first place, to what degree could we leverage the existing landscape, but then also maybe use some RPA to then get... It's about combining the resources you've got. We invest too much in people, systems and processes. RPA has a role, but it's not the be-all and end-all. But I think, for me, RPA is great because it keeps it out there. We're talking about it. As I say, having started looking at some of this stuff, it is around about, why do we do that? And if we did this way, would that simplify it? And more often than not, maybe RPA, the debate around RPA has got us to where we need to get to, but maybe RPA isn't actually even part of the solution. But for many it will be. I see it both in finance and operations. It will simplify a lot. It will get rid of a lot of the rework, the effort that's actually expended, which really doesn't add any value. Finance has to be about creating value. We have to stop doing the mundane and focus on the output. And I think that's where we're going to get to. But RPA is a great beacon. It's a great torch for the minute. I'm sure it will get replaced by something else. As I say, it's not that new technology, but I think it's how we combine those. And I think we're talking the right language, and we're sitting there going, do you know what? How does RPA work with SAP? How does RPA work with yours? That is the debate we should be having, and I think that's what our IS guys are really keen to have the debate around. And I think we have to plan for the future as a team. So it's like buying a piece of software that gets replaced by it further down the line. So RPA is another facilitator to cognitive, to AI, to whatever. We've got to design our processes in anticipation of that arriving. And I think it is around about, if we're just going to roboticize the data entry, tick, tack, tick, tack, tick, we've got a limited ambition. What we need to do is to what degree will judgment be automated? And as I say, if that 83% number is to be correct, then that's really going to dwell on a lot of those people who today think they're in senior roles making judgment calls. Cognitive AI is coming. It's going to demand us to be a little more rules-based on how we come to stuff, but isn't that what thinking is today? So I think, yes, I think it's a step towards, and I think we need to build with that in mind rather than just build thinking RPA of itself will solve everything. It doesn't. It's just another step in the line to get to that position. I've kind of been in the space for 20 years, so I've kind of got all the t-shirts and seen various waves of, and I think we're on version 5 of shared services. And for me, it's all around meeting peer groups, understanding where other people are at, maturity of shapes of business. So we're a large business, we've got an offshore operation. What's the future of offshoring? People are going, it's dead with RPA. I disagree with that. I think we've got the value chain. So it's meeting peer group, but for me, fundamentally, it's around about understanding where all these software solutions are at. Who's got an advantage, where's that thought process going, so it's staying current. So I'm very lucky in that my bosses, my company encourages me to go and do that. I think the fact we've got all these people here today, I think the fact that we had the big conference in May, all of that plays out to the fact that we're all learning, and if anybody sits here and think they've done it, then there's only one way that's going to go. So for me, it's really important. So I tend to come to 3 or 4 conferences every year. I cherry pick what they are, because I know who's going to be here. So for me, it's really important.